As of the recording of this video, Mullen Automotive is up around 30% since September 11th. As anyone paying attention would expect, the stock is falling yet again. But why was Mullen moving up recently? Because the company has acquired the battery production assets and intellectual property from a defunct Romeo Power for $3.5 million. This is the company that was previously providing Nikola with batteries for their battery-powered trucks. And Nikola bought the company's assets for $144 million in stock, so Mullen's getting these assets at a steep discount to what Nikola bought them for only around a year ago. And I find that pretty interesting, and you have to ask yourself, why that could be. But we'll touch on that in a bit. So, this is not Mullen's first attempt at getting into the battery space, though. As I went over in my first video on Mullen, their first partnership with a Chinese battery manufacturer has gone and will go absolutely nowhere. The innovative solid-state battery technology that they were showing off had dents in it, and solid-state batteries cannot function with dents in them. So that was clearly a scam. The second move they tried to pull with batteries was with Lawrence Harge, an inventor that had no experience in the field whatsoever. He had just previously designed a fire extinguisher. Mullen brought him in for a JV to trick retail while they could. Other battery companies have to spend billions of dollars to try to figure this out, but Mullen was going to do it with some no-name inventor, so that's great. So it was no surprise when that deal fell apart as well. Lawrence was too busy partying it up and lying about deals with Saudi Arabia to actually develop a real product. Not that he could if he even wanted to. But Mullen needed new battery technology to buy, to pretend like they're ever going to produce a vehicle. And spoiler alert, this company will never make a vehicle of its own. It'll just import Chinese vehicles, as ELMS did, and that's what they've been producing. And ELMS was the company that Mullen acquired, whose leftover van inventory they've been selling now. I would expect nothing less from a company with David Mitchery as the CEO, who has no previous experience in physics, engineering, the automotive space, anything. The guy was a scam artist in the entertainment industry, and he's a scam artist now. He goes on TV and he freezes up when asked about his generous compensation, acting like he's lost connection. I wonder why he doesn't have a good answer for that. And, we all know exactly why. It's because there is no good answer. He's been robbing retail investors, taking in tens of millions of dollars since his company went public. And speaking of robbing retail investors, in Mullen's latest 14A, we can see that David has a great stock compensation program. He gets more shares in the company every time he completes a minuscule milestone. He just got issued at least 5% of the company's current shares outstanding for the acquisition and accelerated development milestones. He might have gotten even more from all the battery development milestones as well. But this is why Mullen is so incentivized to go out and buy up bankrupt assets that no one else wants. So what did Mullen get for their $3.5 million from Nikola? Well, they received production assets for EV packs, battery testing and validation equipment, among other assets. Sounds like they also got some of the battery inventory and the intellectual property as well. So now Mullen has the designs and intellectual property for Romeo's batteries, but Nikola still has a license on the technology, and Mullen owns it. So in theory, this is pretty great. Romeo's already produced batteries for Nikola, so Mullen at least has an actual product now, but there's one big problem. Nikola's electric batteries have been catching on fire. And considering Nikola's liquidating Romeo's assets, which they try to claim foul play about and that someone set fire to the batteries, but it's pretty obvious that there are design flaws with the technology. Nikola's claiming that divesting Romeo's assets is a part of their strategy to shift their focus entirely on fuel cell trucks. But this is clearly to cover up the fact that there are some issues that they don't want to acknowledge, especially when demand for Nikola's battery-powered trucks were lackluster to begin with. So yet again, Mullen has bought up some assets that no one else wanted, and the CEO got, bare minimum, 5% of the shares outstanding in compensation for this deal. Mullen has done this time and time again. This company has never built anything itself, and this company is not run by competent people. They acquired both of their manufacturing plants, which really can't produce anything. There hasn't been nearly enough R&D spent to actually produce a vehicle themselves. They acquired all their automotive model designs, and all the vans and trucks that have been sold so far were leftover inventory from the ELMS acquisition. Those vans and trucks were primarily made in China anyway, So this company has made nothing because they're totally incapable of making anything themselves. This whole acquisition is yet again just another massive distraction to get global retail investors to buy in. The company would love to have you believe that the short sellers, the hedge funds, and all the shadowy corporate entities are behind their total failure. But the reality is, this company was incorporated with the goal of scamming people. And so far, it's worked out pretty well. Yet we still see people falling for the idea that MULN has a future. Even if the company manages to survive for another couple years, selling cars from China is not a viable business model. And acquiring Romeo's assets is just another diversion tactic. But if you'd like to hear more about this company and why it will never see a short squeeze, then I'll link to my previous video on MULN in the description below. Thanks for watching.